Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I thought we could take a look at the prices for Red Harvest and just see if it's good value for money. Warcry Red Harvest is available to pre-order from this Saturday, and we've seen a lot now in the Warhammer Day preview, and we've had a look at the full reveal, so we've seen all the contents, including the sprues, the content section of the book as well, and we've even got a glimpse at some of the fighter cards and the abilities. So I think now we've seen quite a bit of the box set and we know the prices, it's a good time to just have a discussion as to whether or not this is good value for money. So here's the contents of the box set now, and shout out to Foible Games, who's really quick on getting all the prices. And as we've seen, the UK, it's going to be 130, in euros 160, and in the US it's going to be 210. So we've got to ask, is that a good price for what we get in the box? But before we do that, we've really got to look at the savings. So we're going to get a 10 to 20% saving on this box set, and that's going to bring our prices down quite a bit. If we look at the 20% discount, we're going to get it for 104, 128 or 168. And a lot of online discount stores will offer these prices, and even some local game stores as well. So I don't think it's going to be too difficult to save 20% on the list price. But in my local game store, I can save 10%. And so I'll be paying £117. But if we were to look at that 10% discount in euros, it's going to bring it down to 144, and in dollars, 189. So when I'm thinking about the price personally, I'm thinking, is this worth £117 to me? And I'll be breaking it down with that figure in mind. And then this might be your first time playing Warcry, so is £117 worth it for a new player? And what do you exactly get for that money? Do you get everything you need? And is that going to be a good price to start playing the game? Start going through some good and bad points, and the first one are the warbands. So for me, the warbands are great. I think they've done a fantastic job here. Both warbands are really appealing, and they're both brand new. And this one, our Dark Oath Savages, comes with some amazing figures, including this emo Conan style barbarian. And the whole theme of this warband really fits in with Warcry and what we've seen already. We've got the Spire Tyrants, the Untamed Beast. These are kind of a mix of the two, and I think they're just fantastic. And this sorceress is one of my favourites. I think this miniature is amazing. Her eyes are plucked out, but she's holding an eye up, and so she's seeing everything with that, which I think is just genius. Altogether, a really great looking warband, and just adding that sorceress in really made a big difference, I think. Then the second warband, I think, are just as good, but in a different way. These are the Tarantulas Brood. They really fit in with the narrative of Warcry as well, and much like we've seen with the Splintered Fang, who worship the Great Serpent, and the Corvus Cabal, who worship the Great Gatherer, we've got the Tarantulas Brood worshipping Chaos as a bloated, eight-limbed spider, as it described it in a recent article. So really is a nice contrast to play against those Dark Oath Savages, and perfect miniatures, I think. They've done a great job on the sculpts here. The spider theme's really coming through, and I'm just loving it. I think they're great. We also got a good look at the sprues, which have got some great details in there, and we saw some fighter cards and abilities yesterday. I did a video on this if you want to check that out. So we got to see some of their abilities and what they can do, and I thought that was pretty good. All brand new, redesigned, and so we got completely new miniatures, completely new abilities, and fighter cards as well. Having two new warbands is really important to me when I'm looking at the price. With the Octarius box set for Kill Team, we saw some fantastic miniatures, and they easily made that set worth the asking price for £125 RRP. And it's the same here. We've got two brand new warbands, and that means there's been a brand new design process, a lot of thought and effort gone into it, and I think they've been put together really well. So I think having the contrast between the two different warbands is really good, and I think they've got it just right. So that's really important to me. It's not just the value of the actual plastic miniatures, but it's also the effort and the design process that's gone into creating those in the first place. And I also feel like they've been made by someone who actually likes Warcry and who perhaps even likes to play it, which sounds like a strange thing to say from a games company, but with Games Workshop being so big, being so corporate, I think a lot of that can be lost, and we do see that in a lot of the products. But I think here that kind of feeling is coming through as if it's been produced by a fan of the game. I think we saw this kind of corporate influence coming through with Chalnath. And I did a video on that discussing whether that was expensive or not, certainly comparing it to the starter set of Octarius. And here we've got existing terrain, an existing Pathfinder kill team with just like an extra sprue popped on to jazz them up a little bit. But then we've got one brand new warband in the Sisters. But that didn't feel the same as this Warcry set does. Having a mix of new and old just didn't do it for me, and I certainly am not getting that from Red Harvest. I'm certainly getting a better vibe altogether. And getting back to the Red Harvest, we can see the terrain laid out here. So it's not all entirely new. There is one sprue that we've seen in the Catacomb set, and that's the spikes that you see at the front and the little wooden bridges as well. So that one sprue is old, but it certainly still fits in with the rest of the terrain, which is brand new and a really great theme. And one other thing about the terrain here is it really plays in to Warcry, the dynamic movement. It's got all the different heights. And when it's all laid out on the board, it really fills it up. So you can see here in the image, it's completely filled that board. There's plenty going on, lots to hide behind, lots to climb up, jump down from. And so it really does work. Whereas the terrain in the Chalnath expansion, it just didn't seem to really play into the game that much. It didn't have an awful lot of terrain, and I just don't think it gave the same impression that this does. This really makes you want to dive in and play on the battlefield. So I really love the whole narrative of this as well, really playing in to the 8 points, and also it's going to be some new rules coming to go along with it, so that's going to be really fun. And I also like how it's got elements in it that we can use with our existing terrain if we want to make it a little bit more dense. So that's really good as well. So I think it feels like a lot of thought has got into that, and it really plays into the Warcry like narrative. We're going to get one book with this, the Red Harvest book, and that's going to have the core rules, and there are going to be some elements missing from the core book, but everything you need to play if you're a new player will be included in this. Now, if you want to play open or match play, there's going to be some bits missing from that, and there's also going to be a lot missing from the original warbands, like backgrounds and things like that, to get you into the fluff of the game. But if just to get started, I think the book's got enough, and certainly if you've already got the core book, you know, you've got everything in there already. You already know the rules, but this is going to have those main core rules in anyway. And it's also going to give you the rules for playing a campaign. So if you're new and you want to play a campaign, the rules will be in this book. I'll put a link at the end of this video to this other video I've done, which is Red Harvest, all the contents, where we go into a lot of detail about what's included in the book and also the sprues and all the contents as well. Having just this one book could be seen as a negative, because there is going to be some bits missing, like there's match play and open play. But for me, I'm happy with the one book because I do have the core book. But I'm trying to think, if I was a new player, would I be happy with it? And I think I would. It's got the core rules you need to play, and you could use these 2 warbands with the narrative for them and the setting. And then if you like that, you could certainly start expanding, picking up the supplement books and focusing on some of the other warbands you might like to collect, and then look into the core book for some other campaign info. But I think we're going to have enough in here, and I think a lot of the information that's in the core book but not in the Red Harvest book can also just be found online, even on the Warhammer community website and on the Warcry website as well. I think you're going to get a lot of that background information about the different warbands there, so you don't necessarily need it in the book, although it would be nice to have. I don't think you need it. Some other things that stand out to me from this main picture with all the contents are the dice and the battle plan cards. And Dex on my Patreon pointed out that the dice here in this image are the square edge dice. So these are going to be a lot better quality, I think. And if you ever picked up any of the Warcry dice packs, then for each of the Grand Alliances, they were these square edge dice. And they're really nice to play, and they feel really good. So if these are included, that's going to be awesome. But in the first picture, this image here that we saw in the preview online, the dice are the rounded edges. So I'm going to go with the most recent picture and expect to get the dice that have got the straight edges, because that's the most recent one posted, and that was the one that told us all the contents of the box. So, you know, having these 2 dice could be a little bit misleading, but I think if we use the picture, which is this one here, the most recent one, then we could be well getting these straight edge dice, which is going to be a nice improvement. So having better dice is always a bonus. And as well as the dice, it also shows us the battle plan and terrain cards on this image. So this is really great because in the Catacombs set, they weren't included. You did get them in the first book, but the first box set, sorry, the original box set for Warcry, but you didn't get them with Catacombs, so I bought them separately. And those battle plan cards were like $9.99 with a discount, just over £8, I believe. But I couldn't get the terrain cards for the terrain that came in Catacombs. But here it looks like we're going to get the terrain cards to go with this terrain set. So that's really good. I'm really happy with that. And the battle plan cards included. If we think of that with the terrain cards as a value of £10, then even though this is £130, so a bit more than Catacombs, we are getting that extra value by having those cards included. That's pretty much the main points that I pick out on this when I'm looking at the value. And again, if I'm a new player, I think this could certainly be looked at as a new all-in-one box set rather than an expansion. I think it's got everything you need in here to get a good flavour of Warcry. You've got the core rules and you've got a really nice scenario with 2 great warbands to play in. So you're really going to get a good idea of how the game's played. Now, there's no chaotic beasts included or anything like that, but there wasn't in Catacombs either. And so that might be something you might want to pick up, get yourself a box of chaotic beasts to include, and then that's going to give you some extra options when you play, but you certainly don't need them to play. And I'll often leave out the chaotic beasts anyway in my games. So I think for the price, I'm really happy with it. I think it works well. Again, having those 2 new warbands, the mostly new terrain, the new board, the new book, those battle plan cards, the nice dice, and just having that whole design process and input being put into it, I think makes it well worth it. So certainly for that price and with the discount is one I'm really happy to play. Whereas with the Chalnath for Kill Team, I was on the fence. I'm in an RM, wasn't sure, didn't get it in the end. And then I was comparing it to Octarius, which was a fantastic set, full of value. And I think I've got the same feeling for Red Harvest as I did with Kill Team Octarius. So I'm really looking forward to getting it. And I think it's definitely worth the price. But what do you think? Is it worth £130, €160 or $210 US? So wherever you are, the price is going to be different, and I think it's going to be different for everybody really, how they judge the value for this. So I'd love to know what you think, so let me know in the comments section below. That'd be awesome. I'll be keeping you up to date with all the Warcry news as it's released, and as soon as the box set's available, I'll be buying it, getting it built, painted, and we'll do a playthrough, and I'll also get some more updated rules videos up on the channel as well, so we'll all be good to go as soon as the set's out. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. If you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page, and thanks to everyone who's joined so far. It's really awesome. We hang out on Discord, talk about the hobby, share ideas and help each other out, and you'll get some perks there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link in the description, and it'd be great to see you there.